Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our English learning journey. I'm so excited to be here with you today because we're going to explore one of the most practical and useful topics for English learners: going to restaurants and having conversations with servers, friends, and family while dining out. You know, when I first started teaching English, I realized that restaurant conversations are some of the most important skills my students need to learn. Why? Because eating out is something we all do. Whether we're traveling, living in an English-speaking country, or just want to practice our English skills in real-life situations. Today, we're going to break down everything you need to know about restaurant conversations, step by step, in a way that's easy to understand and remember. Let me start by sharing a little story with you. Last week, I went to a lovely Italian restaurant with my friend Sarah. As we walked in, the hostess greeted us with a warm smile and said, "Good evening. Welcome to Antonio's. Do you have a reservation?" This simple greeting is actually the perfect starting point for our lesson today, because it shows you exactly how restaurant conversations typically begin. When you first enter a restaurant, the host or hostess will usually ask if you have a reservation. A reservation is when you call the restaurant ahead of time to book a table. If you have one, you can say, "Yes, I have a reservation under the name Johnson for 7:30. If you don't have a reservation, don't worry. You can simply say, "No, we don't have a reservation. Do you have a table available for 2 people?" The word available means free or not being used by someone else. It's a very useful word that you'll hear often in restaurants and many other places. The hostess might respond by saying, "Let me check our availability," or "We have a table ready right now," or sometimes, "I'm sorry, but we're fully booked tonight." The wait time is about 30 minutes. Now, let's talk about what happens when you're seated at your table. The server, who some people call a waiter or waitress, will come to greet you. They might say something like, "Hi there. My name is Mike, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with something to drink?" This is a very common way for servers to introduce themselves and begin taking your order. When ordering drinks, you have many options. You could say, "I'll have a Coke, please," or "Could I get a glass of water with lemon?" or "I'd like to try your house wine." Notice how I use different phrases to make the same request. "I'll have," "Could I get," and "I'd like" are all polite ways to order something. Using variety in your language makes you sound more natural and confident. The server might ask, "Would you like ice with that?" or "What size would you prefer?" It's perfectly fine to ask questions back if you're not sure about something. You could say, "What sizes do you have?" or "What do you recommend?" Asking for recommendations is a great way to start a conversation and learn about the restaurant's popular dishes. Let me tell you about the menu, because understanding how to read and discuss a menu is crucial for restaurant success. Menus are usually divided into different sections. You'll typically see appetizers, which are small dishes you eat before the main course. Then there are main courses or entrees, which are the largest part of your meal. Finally, you'll find desserts, which are sweet dishes you eat at the end of the meal. When you're ready to order food, the server will return and ask, "Are you ready to order?" or "What can I get started for you today?" If you need more time, it's completely okay to say, "Could we have a few more minutes, please?" or "We're not quite ready yet." When you are ready, you might start with appetizers. You could say, "We'd like to share the spinach and artichoke dip to start," or "I'll begin with the Caesar salad." The word share means to divide something between 2 or more people. Many people like to share appetizers because it lets them try different foods without getting too full before the main course arrives. For the main course, you have so many ways to express your choice. You might say, for my main course, I'll have the grilled salmon, or I'd like the chicken pasta, please, or the steak sounds delicious. I'll go with that. Notice how I said I'll go with that. This is a very natural, casual way to make your selection. The server will often ask you questions about how you want your food prepared. For meat, they might ask, how would you like that cooked? For steak, your options are usually rare, medium, medium well, or well done. Rare means the meat is cooked very little and is quite red inside. Well done means it's cooked completely through with no pink color. If you're not sure, medium is usually a safe choice. For side dishes, the server might ask, what would you like as your side? Common sides include rice, mashed potatoes, steamed vegetables, or a salad. You could respond with, I'll take the mashed potatoes, or could I substitute the rice for extra vegetables? The word substitute means to replace one thing with another. Now let's talk about some challenges you might face and how to handle them. Sometimes you might not understand something on the menu. Don't be embarrassed to ask. You could say, excuse me, what is risotto? Or could you tell me what comes with the fish and chips? Servers are usually very happy to explain dishes because they want you to enjoy your meal. If you have food allergies or dietary restrictions, it's very important to communicate this clearly. You might say, I'm allergic to shellfish. Does this dish contain any shrimp or crab? Or I'm vegetarian. What options do you have without meat? Or is this gluten-free? The server should be able to help you find something safe and delicious to eat. Sometimes, restaurants can be noisy, and it might be hard to hear or understand the server. If this happens, don't hesitate to say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Or could you speak a little louder, please? It's much better to ask for clarification than to guess and end up with the wrong order. Let's practice some small talk that often happens during restaurant visits. If you're dining with friends or family, you might discuss the food, the atmosphere, or your day. You could say things like, this place has such a nice atmosphere, or the music isn't too loud, which I really appreciate, or how's your pasta? It looks amazing. When your food arrives, the server will often ask, how does everything look? Or can I get you anything else right now? This is a good time to check if you need extra napkins, condiments like ketchup or salt, or if something isn't quite right with your order. Speaking of condiments, these are sauces or seasonings you add to food to change the taste. Common condiments include salt, pepper, ketchup, mustard, hot sauce, and salad dressing. If you need any of these, you can ask, could I get some hot sauce, please? Or do you have any Parmesan cheese for the pasta? Now, I want to share something important about restaurant etiquette, which means the proper way to behave in social situations. In most American restaurants, it's normal to chat quietly with your companions, but try not to be too loud because other people are also trying to enjoy their meals. It's also polite to turn off or silence your phone, especially during dinner. If you need to get the server's attention, make eye contact and raise your hands slightly, or wait for them to pass by your table. Avoid snapping your fingers or calling out loudly across the restaurant. A simple, excuse me, when they're nearby works perfectly. Let me tell you about a funny mistake I made when I was learning about restaurant culture. I was at a restaurant with some American friends, and when the server brought our food, I immediately started eating. My friends looked surprised, and I realized I had forgotten to wait for everyone to receive their food before beginning. In American culture, it's polite to wait until everyone has their meal before you start eating, especially in more formal dining situations. During the meal, the server will usually check on you at least once. They might ask, "How is everything tasting?" Or, "Is there anything else I can bring you?" This is your opportunity to provide feedback or request additional items. You might respond, "Everything is delicious, thank you." Or, "Actually, could I get some more water, please?" If something isn't right with your food, don't suffer in silence. Politely let the server know. You could say, "I'm sorry, but my steak is more well done than I requested. Could you please have the kitchen prepare another one?" Or, "This soup is a bit cold. Could you warm it up for me?" Good restaurants want you to be happy with your meal and will usually fix any problems quickly. As you're finishing your meal, the server will often ask, "Are you still working on that?" Or, "Can I clear this plate for you?" If you're done eating, you can say, "Yes, you can take it," or, "I'm all finished, thank you." If you want to keep eating, you might say, "I'm still working on it," or, "Could you leave it for a few more minutes?" Now comes one of the most important parts of the restaurant experience, dessert. The server might ask, "Would you like to see our dessert menu?" Or, "Are you interested in any dessert tonight?" If you're too full, you can say, "We're too full for dessert, but thank you." If you want to look at options, you could say, "Yes, we'd love to see the dessert menu." Popular desserts include ice cream, cake, pie, and tiramisu. You might hear the server say, "Our chocolate cake is made fresh daily," or, "The apple pie comes with vanilla ice cream." If you want to share a dessert, you can tell the server, "We'd like to share the chocolate cake, and could we get 2 spoons, please?" When you're completely finished with your meal, the server will bring you the check, which is also called the bill. They might say, "Here's your check. Take your time," or, "I'll leave this here for you whenever you're ready." In American restaurants, you typically pay at your table rather than going to a counter. Let's talk about tipping, which is an important part of American restaurant culture. A tip is extra money you give to the server for good service. The standard tip is usually between 15 and 20% of your total bill before taxes. If the service was exceptional, you might tip more. If the service was poor, you might tip less, but it's unusual to leave no tip at all. You can calculate the tip easily. For 18%, you can take 10% of the bill and add half of that amount. For example, if your bill is $50, 10% would be $5, and half of that is $2.50. So 18% would be $7.50. When paying, you have several options. You can pay with cash, in which case you leave the tip on the table. You can pay with a credit card and write the tip amount on the receipt, or many restaurants now have electronic payment systems where you can add the tip digitally. Before leaving, it's nice to thank your server. You might say, "Thank you so much. The meal was wonderful," or, "Everything was great. Have a good evening." This kind of polite interaction makes the dining experience pleasant for everyone. Let me share some advanced vocabulary that will make you sound more sophisticated when dining out. Instead of just saying good, you could describe food as flavorful, tender, crispy, or perfectly seasoned. Instead of bad, you might say food is overcooked, underseasoned, or not quite what I expected. You can also use more descriptive language when ordering. Instead of "I want the chicken," try "The herb-crusted chicken breast sounds appealing," or "I'm drawn to the pan-seared salmon." This shows a higher level of English proficiency and makes your conversation more engaging. Sometimes, you might encounter regional or international cuisine that's unfamiliar to you. Don't be afraid to ask questions like, "What's the difference between pad thai and pad see ew?" Or, "Is this dish spicy?" Servers usually know their menu well and enjoy helping customers understand different foods. For special occasions, you might want to make specific requests. You could ask, "Do you have any tables with a view?" Or we're celebrating an anniversary. Do you have any special desserts? Many restaurants are happy to help make celebrations memorable. If you're dining for business purposes, the conversation might be more formal. You might discuss work projects while eating, but it's important to balance business talk with enjoying the meal. You could say things like, "This restaurant has excellent food. What do you think of your salmon?" to keep the conversation light and pleasant. Weather is always a safe topic for restaurant small talk. You might comment, "It's such a beautiful day. I'm glad we could sit on the patio." Or, "The rain started just as we got here. Perfect timing." These kinds of observations help create a friendly, relaxed atmosphere. Let me tell you about some common mistakes that English learners make in restaurants and how to avoid them. One mistake is being too direct when making requests. Instead of "Give me water," say, "Could I please have some water?" Or "May I have a glass of water?" The words please, could, and may make your requests much more polite. Another common error is forgetting to use articles like a and the. Instead of "I want chicken," say "I'd like the chicken" when referring to a specific dish on the menu, or "I'd like a chicken sandwich" when talking about the type of food generally. Some students also struggle with pronunciation of food names, especially items from other cultures. Don't worry if you're not sure how to pronounce something. You can point to the menu and say, "I'd like this dish, please," or ask the server, "How do you pronounce this?" Most people appreciate when you're trying to learn. As we wrap up our restaurant conversation journey today, I want to emphasize that practice makes perfect. The more you use these phrases and engage in restaurant conversations, the more natural they'll become. Start by practicing at home, maybe role-playing with a friend or family member where one person is the server and the other is the customer. Remember, most restaurant staff want you to have a good experience. They're usually patient and helpful, especially if they see you're making an effort to communicate in English. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn and improve. The key to successful restaurant conversations is being polite, patient, and clear in your communication. Use please and thank you frequently, speak clearly, and don't hesitate to ask for clarification if you don't understand something. I hope this lesson has given you confidence to enjoy dining out in English-speaking environments. Restaurant conversations are wonderful opportunities to practice your English skills in real-world situations while enjoying delicious food and good company. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep practicing these phrases and conversations, and remember that every interaction is a chance to improve your English. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep enjoying your English learning journey. Have a wonderful day and happy dining.